Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Pepson, owner of SRQ Customs in Sarasota, Florida. Today I'm making this video for you guys, the students of my wife, Mrs. Pepson. This week we are talking about small business and advertising and how music plays into those things. Before we get into that, I am going to talk a little bit about how I got started in this business. I went to Pineview High School. That's where I really fell in love with customizing cars. Where I started working on my own cars, then started working on cars for my friends. After high school, I went to college for computer science. By the time that I graduated from college, the market for computer network administrators was pretty well flooded, and the financial opportunity wasn't there like it was in customizing cars. So I decided to make that my career from that point on. And I worked for other companies for about 10 years, 11 years, and most notably a company called Sound Advice. It was a chain store, 175 locations. They were the largest car customizing and home theater company in North America at their time. They went out of business in 2007 because of some embezzling, and it became a struggle to find a good place to work after they went away for a lot of people. So a lot of people that were former employees decided to start their own business. I did in 2009. I had just purchased my first home and received a $7,500 first-time home buyer's tax credit on my tax return. So I used that money to lease a building, buy some tools, buy a lot of construction materials to build walls and do flooring and electrical. Everything I needed I did myself, and started with just word of mouth, selling on the reputation. And luckily I had been in the same town for 11 years and then gotten to know a lot of people and keep that going. My first location, which you'll see on the video here, was a 4,000 square foot warehouse just off of Clark Road, where I worked for the first 6 years, really learning what it takes to run a small business. As many people advise me, you really have to put everything into the business when you start. A lot of late nights, a lot of weekends, not a lot of vacations, not a lot of toys and fun things for yourself, but the money that you make that you don't need to live goes back into the business until the business can reach a point that it runs by itself. In the first location is when I had my largest crew of technicians. At that point, 7 guys working for me, building cars and unique projects. We tried other things. We were part of a reality TV show on the Discovery Channel called Highway to Sell. It was a great experience. We got to learn a lot about the world of TV making. The show was created by the same guy who created Pimp My Ride, and unfortunately didn't carry on as well as Pimp My Ride did. It was not picked up for a second season. So I decided it was time to take our business to the next level. I invested all my savings in a new location, which was 3 times the size of the location we were in. Once again, required a complete build out from an empty warehouse, and we did the whole build out again ourselves. This is a huge gamble for me, but at the time in my life, I was a single guy. All I was really interested in was the business. I was willing to forego the luxuries of life for the image of what you see watching a show like Inside West Coast Customs. But the second location was great. I finally had the space that I needed to bring in the tools that I wanted to make my own products with. CNC machines, including a router and several lasers, allow me to develop my own line of products, which I still make today and I sell online, sell direct to consumer and to other businesses. And that has proven to be what will really carry my business forward profitably, so that I can still do the fun stuff that everybody likes to see. What I learned from my second location was that scaling up your business doesn't always scale up your profits. After 4 years in that second location, a lot of things changed in my life. I met your teacher, Mrs. Pepson, and we started a family together. And my priorities shifted in the business from spending all my money to look like a big shot to actually being a profitable business to be able to provide for my family. So that marked our move to my current location, which is the stage of my business that I consider to be the return to profitability, which was going back to a 5,000 square foot building, keeping my expenses and rents low, not wasting a lot of money on image over substance. And that's been great so far in the last year and a half since I made that change. It's allowed my wife and I to move into a better home, to buy new cars, to pay down our bills, all the things that you want as a business owner to eventually reach that point. And I'll show you some of the projects that I've done through the years. The first big project that I got to be a part of was a Mazda RX-7 owned by a man named Jay Laub, who was a friend of mine long before I worked on the car. So we're talking about the area of the early 2000s, when import cars were huge, the Fast and Furious movies were just getting started, so everybody was really into Japanese cars. Car shows were over the top. They were every weekend at big convention centers. And through a lot of work and a couple of years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, this RX-7 became the winningest car in the history of cars. Through the publicity from that, I was able to then move on to something called the Scion Builders Competition. Every year they used to take one of each car and they would give it to a top car builder, and they would customize it however they saw fit, and then all of those cars would come together at an event in Las Vegas where the fans would get to decide on which one was the best. After the Scion Builders Competition, we got a job for British Petroleum, BP Gasoline. They had just come off their major oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico and were looking to reclaim their image. So we took this Mazda RX-8 from them and we customized the inside and out, paint job, wrap with the BP stars, full sound system, interior, wheels, performance. And there were little pictures of this car at every BP gas pump in America, and by just filling up at the station and taking your receipt and going online, you could enter to win the car. And somebody in Georgia won the car, and as far as I know, their family still has it. After the BP, we were awarded the contract to build a concept car for Mercedes-Benz. Not like a local dealership, but the actual Mercedes-Benz North America. This was a good one because this is probably the only time that I get to beat West Coast Customs out for a job. So the vehicle was the Mercedes GLK SUV, which has now been out for 12 years, but at that time had not come out yet. So we got one of the very first pre-production models, and we customized it to what we called the Urban Whip. What Mercedes had actually asked for is like something that you would see in a rap video. So that's what we did. We cut the roof off, we put big wheels on it, we lowered it, full custom interior. Every piece on this car except for the hood and the side mirrors we built from scratch. Bumpers, doors, interior, the whole vehicle, the motorized tonneau cover, everything was made. After the Mercedes, the next project car is one that you guys have actually probably seen, which is the van for the compound board shop. I really like these little projects for the local businesses. The compound van is exciting because it's not just a way for Jacob and his team to move surfboards and stuff around the country, but on a smaller scale, it's like a driving showroom. When it was initially completed, it had everything that his store had. It had a watch case, it had the fins for the wakeboards, it had a skateboard rack, it had a killer sound system that he could do events with, lights for working at night, plus all the storage space. Everyone's heard of Sony, the largest company in consumer electronics. They make everything from the PlayStation to Ericsson phones to TVs and car stereos. On the car stereo side, Sony has 3 vehicles that tour around the nation, go to car events, go to retailers, just anything that Sony can be a part of to hype their brand and show off the latest technology. And one of the other things that we've been lucky to do is to work with the local Sarasota Ford dealership, and we built 2 vehicles that were partially for them and partially for BDS Suspension Company, which went out to the SEMA show in Las Vegas. So the SEMA show in Las Vegas is kind of like the Super Bowl of car customizing, except nobody really wins anything. It's just an opportunity for roughly 3,000 manufacturers to show off between 8,000 and 15,000 cars. So what we're doing now in our business that's kind of exciting is something called a game truck. But really it's a trailer. It starts off as a plain ordinary enclosed trailer, and then we build out the entire inside of it and the outside, and these are sold as turnkey franchises. Where the owners can then take these to birthday parties or gaming events or any kind of social event, and anywhere from 5 to 15 people can hop in these things playing Xbox and PlayStation, doing virtual reality, laser tag. There's all kinds of crazy options that we make available. And these things are really a lot of fun for the clients, and it's a way for them to start their own business. We give them those tools. And the one that we are building right now is not so much of a business, but it is a branding vehicle for an existing business. The company is Sioux Chief Plumbing, and they make all kinds of home, like residential plumbing supplies. They also make stuff for race cars, like hoses and clamps and so forth. But this is going to be a trailer that they take to NASCAR events for their NASCAR team, and it will let people come in and play the latest PlayStation racing games in a competition that they set up. And the people can play either inside or outside, and there's also full virtual reality gaming centers that will be set up in the front where they get to sit in the seats and play with the headsets. So to wrap things up, if you have an interest in starting your own business, I strongly recommend it. Once you get a taste for it, it's really hard to go back to working for somebody else.